For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy Bradley. Welcome to The Scribble, our very first podcast, and I hope you're going to have a good time. And I don't know many podcasts that are going to kick off with 3 celebrity guests, but we're doing that. We're going to try to cram it all in 30 minutes. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. If you aren't familiar with Top of the Charts, The Open Road, or Entertainment Wrap-Up, the 3 syndicated radio shows I host, I'm a radio host and also an author of the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate, and also the latest book that I just put out in November is called Put Down Your Damn Phone Already. I'll probably tell you guys more about that in the upcoming weeks here on The Scribble. But yes, I certainly do a lot. I have fun talking with celebrities, everyday people, upcoming music artists, you name it. I love talking, love having a good time. So hopefully you will have a good time and be entertained for the next 30 minutes as we kick off this little show called The Scribble. Never done podcasting before. I think it's a little bit different than radio, not too much, but either way. So if there's anything that you ever want to chat about, feel free to shoot me a note on Twitter at The Scribble Show. That's at The Scribble Show on Twitter. And you can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/SF-Celebwatch. SF as in Speak Free Celebwatch. The name of our company is Speak Free Media. So I think we need to get right into the celebrity interviews. Coming up on this show, Leeza Gibbons just won Celebrity Apprentice a couple weeks ago. We're going to chat with her coming up. The Amazing Race just kicked off on Wednesday. One of our good friends from the radio show, Phil Keoghan, is going to be joining us, and also host of Survivor, also just premiered again on CBS. Jeff Probst will be joining us. Lots of star power in our very first episode. We're going to set that bar high for expectations, but it's all downhill from here, I promise. All right, so let's get into our first celebrity spotting.
Celeb spotting on The Scribble.
Survivor host Jeff Probst is joining us on the line. Now, before we say hello to Jeff, I'm going to give you some background information. The very first time that we ever had him on our Top 40 music show, he voted me off the air of my own show. Have a listen. All right, talking about reality shows still, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're on the air.
Jeremy,
yes.
Tribe has spoken.
Oh, great. Oh, great, another crazy Survivor fan. Who is this?
Jeremy, this is Jeff Probst.
Oh.
Not a crazed fan. I am your worst nightmare. Tribe really has spoken.
It's the crazed Survivor host, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. So we welcome him to our very first Scribble. Jeff Probst joining us online. Hey, Jeff.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Nice to talk to you again.
Well, that's the thing. Last time you were on the show, you voted me off my own show. Thanks for that. But still here. And I should point out that 8 years on the air, by the way, we celebrated mid-April. 8 years on the air. So, what do you know? Okay, so you've done the show for so many seasons, and I know you probably watch people's, audition videos and you read over the notes about them. So you must be a pretty good judge of character now when it comes to contestants. So is there a personality trait or physical ability? Like, what should people know about being on the show? Like, what makes a good contestant on Survivor?
I think it's a few things. Self-awareness is right up there. If you aren't aware of how you're perceived, it's going to be difficult, because perception is reality. And especially when the only reality is the other 15 people that you're playing with, then the only thing that matters is how they perceive you. Nobody knows your grandmother and that you go visit her every Sunday, or that you're really nice at church. No one cares. They just want to see how you're perceived. So if you don't realize that people don't trust you, you're dead. And if you don't realize that people see you as lazy and you need to pick it up, you're dead. So I think self-awareness is a big one. And I think for some people, patience, meaning count to 10. It feels so good right now to say, kiss my ass. Don't. Say count to 10. Walk around the palm tree and come back, and hopefully somebody else has said it for you. And now they're in the hot spot. survivor is staying out of the way of the bullets and letting your ego go to bed. Just give it a rest. You know you're brilliant. Nobody else needs to know right now. So just be aware of how you're coming across. Let other people make the big decisions. Let them know you're with them. But be looking for that moment. And when you see that moment, you have to go for it.
Now, I have to ask you, though, because people come in with this big game plan where they're going to have a fictitious story about themselves, and then they open up, they hit it off with somebody within the first 5 minutes, and all of a sudden spill the beans and, create an alliance. Is that a stupid thing to do? Because you still don't really know people at that point. Like, how...
I don't think you can judge it, because everyone does it. So, in the beginning, I used to look at people and say the same thing you did. You'd say, why are you doing that? Haven't you learned from the earlier seasons? But at a certain point, I realized if people continue to do it year after year, then it's proof to me that it's in our nature. And I think when it comes to confiding in somebody, it probably comes from such a strong desire to trust. You're looking for someone you can rely on. And if you think you find it, you want to give them a token. You want to give them something to say, I'm going to tell you something. You want that bond. And if the reveal is something about how magnificent you are, that's your ego. Like whenever we have rich guys or doctors, they always say, well, I'm not going to tell anybody. And I always say, you won't be able to help yourself. You're so enamored with yourself that you won't be able to not tell them you're a plastic surgeon. That's your identity. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, day 2, I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but I'm a plastic surgeon, board certified, number 1 in New York State, worth $50 million. I just want to let everybody... Well, why? No one cared until now. And now you're done.
Yeah.
So that's that whole ego thing. Shut up.
After 20-some seasons, dumbest move ever.
There have been a few.
Who was it that got voted out with 2 idols?
James.
Yeah. Does that rank up there then?
No, I don't think that was really one of the dumbest moves. We gave him a hard time, but he played the odds, and he thought, I'm safe. And if I survive this, I'll be safe down to, I think, like final 5. He played the odds. It's so easy to backseat drive. But giving up your idol when you have it and giving it to somebody else when there's only a few people left in the game, which quite a few people have surprisingly done, is always a risky move. But again, going back to, if you're there for 5th place, that's where you'll end up. And 5th place doesn't pay much. Mm-hmm. 1st place, however, pays $1 million. And even after taxes, it's still many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you're playing to win, you're going to make moves that people can sit at home and go, you idiot. But they weren't there. It made sense at the time. So I don't know. I think most of the dumb moves just come from either you're just dumb. I mean, when people say, oh, but this challenge favors tall people, or, Kerhoff, our challenge guy, will always say, yeah, and puzzles favor smart people or work against dumb people. I mean, everybody's got their qualities. So I think giving up idols are probably the dumbest move. But, man, when you're not eating, you're really not eating, just lose your mind. You can't concentrate anymore. You don't know what you're doing or saying.
What are you doing then while the tribes are living on the island? Like, what's your regular day then when you're not with them?
Yeah, it depends. We're rehearsing or blocking or testing other elements of the show, whether it's challenges or figuring out how we're going to do a switch or where we're going to do the merge. Because I'm the executive producer as well, or one of them, and the daily showrunner. So most of our day is spent prepping for what's going to come later, and then a small portion of my day is spent doing on-camera stuff. And now on the beach where the survivors live, our producers are out there with them all day. That's the main job during the day is a couple of teams, camera teams, and our producers are out there just observing and taking notes. That's all they do all day, is they observe and take notes. And they're directing their cameras where they think the best story is or who to follow, but they're really just following what's happening. And so, our schedule is non-existent. You're on 24/7. Even though you may have a call sheet that says, okay, we're going to rehearse this challenge at this point, we're going to have a team meeting at this point, somebody could need medical attention at 4 in the morning. And so the radio is always on. It's always by your bed. There's always a cell phone of some sort, even though it's a local, it's coming off our own satellite, so it doesn't always work. But there's always communication because it happens. It'll happen many times a year where there's somebody that might need to be evacuated or there might be a problem at camp. And so you're out there for 39 days, living, breathing survivor. And if you have an afternoon off and you're in a place where you can scuba dive, go scuba dive. But you still have the radio with you. And it's that way for our whole crew. Get your job done, and when your job's done, knock yourself out. Do whatever you want. Read, surf, sit on the beach, and then be back at work. And it's why that world is so appealing, because there's no clocking in or clocking out. And as a result of that autonomy, everybody does their job to the highest degree, and they also party to the highest degree. They do surf, and they love to surf, or they will do photography, or they will scuba dive. But, boy, the next morning they're back in the art department cranking out some beautiful piece of art.
When contestants are hunting, are there different rules in different countries about what you can hunt and what you can't? Like, how do they know what they should eat and that's not going to poison them? Are they briefed on that before they get out there?
Yeah, we do. Before the show, we put them through a little survivor training school, which is usually a half a day to a day. And basically, we give them this little booklet we put together, and it says, these are berries that are okay to eat, and these are berries that are not. And these are trees that if you rub up against them, they'll make your skin burn. And these are trees that, make a good fire starter. What's amazing to me is when I check in with the producers, how the majority of people don't even look at them. They're like, yeah, I got it. I know brown nuts are good and the red nuts are bad. I got it. Thanks, man. And then they get out there and, somebody eats a nut and they're sick for 2 days. And you go, God, hey, guys, I know you're Americans and you think you know everything, but that's why we gave you that book.
Yeah.
We don't want you to get, sick. We do, kind of, but not by eating a bad berry.
And finally, Jeff, we had somebody write in a hard-hitting question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Boxers or briefs?
Depends. Depends. On Survivor, boxers. On the talk show, briefs.
Okay.
Because the jeans, here's what I learned. You have to wear tighter underwear with the jeans, because if not, there's actually a little, like wrinkles under there where you can kind of see the material squished up.
Right.
And so the wardrobe person said, these are the underwear you'll wear on the talk show, and then you can wear whatever you want on Survivor.
Either way, very enlightening. Thanks for that insight. So, one of the longest-running reality shows, still a hit on CBS, Wednesday nights. Right, Jeff?
Yes, Wednesday night today. It's just been a blast.
Oh, well, it's been a blast talking with you. Jeff Probst, once again, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, take care now.
Later.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom41.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 41.com. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom41.com.
Back here on the Scribble, Jeremy Bradley at the controls, just having a sip of my complimentary beverage. So we just had Jeff Probst from CBS's Survivor. Let's move over to another show on CBS, The Amazing Race. Now, on our top 40 and country music shows, top of the charts and the open road respectively, we have Phil Keoghan on every season, and so we always get a ton of questions that are sent in for him. So let's continue that tradition here on the Scribble Show with Phil Keoghan from The Amazing Race.
Celeb spotting on the Scribble.
The Amazing Race is back on CBS, and love is in the air, at least for now, for some of them. You never know what's going to happen. And our friend Phil Keoghan, host of the show, is joining us on the line to talk about the new season. Hello again, Phil.
Well, hello. Do you feel like love is in the
For some of them, yes. Some of them, no, because there's an interesting twist this season. You're testing relationships, right?
Yeah, we decided to bring 10 singles to the starting line and match them up at the starting line, as in they've never met each other before, and we pair them up right there at the starting line, and they stare at each other for the first time, and they are all of a sudden a team and racing around the world with the potential of finding love and possibly winning $1 million.
Well, that's something that I found interesting with Wednesday night's premiere, is that it sort of it would make me wonder, is money or is love more important? Really, at the point, most of the people are coming on the race to win the huge prize, but in this case, love could be the prize, and they might sacrifice the money to be with their soulmate. So, not that I'm asking you to give names, but does that happen?
Well, it certainly is an interesting dynamic, and the chances of a relationship working for when people line up their relationship, it is very rare that you get like what they call a perfect match. But it does pose the question, what is more important in some of these races? Are there races there who are more interested in love than the money, or vice versa? We've done our best to line them up, but we know that even if your best friend lines up a date for you, they can get it so wrong. And how many times have you heard stories about, a friend lining up a date for someone, and they'll say, I can't believe you set me up with that guy. He's like so not my type. I don't like him at all. And this might be your best friend. So that's really what's interesting, is what happens to these teams. Does the money become more important to one or both of the team members, or are they genuinely looking for love? And that's really what will make the season interesting.
Does anybody wear chickens or birds on their head this season?
Well, you're gonna see some interesting things. But I don't know about chickens and birds on heads.
You know what I'm talking about, though. That guy.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right. Okay.
Look, I think what makes the Amazing Race work every time is that every team that comes to that starting line is totally unique and different. And that's why I think people tune in, and it's totally unpredictable. The fact that we have these single teams racing against married teams, or teams that are dating, teams that have an existing connection, it does pose a lot of different questions, like what is stronger? Is an existing relationship stronger than a new relationship? And as you saw, for those people who haven't watched the show, you see that the first three teams to come in were actually blind date couples. They'd only been together for 18 hours, and they are standing at the starting line, having gone on this first leg of the race. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so some of these questions that were sent in. Taylor writes, are they allowed to keep all the money from previous countries and use it in the upcoming countries? Can they convert it? And what can they and can't they spend it on?
Well, the money, yes, they can continue to collect the money. The money that they have is collected up at the end of each pit stop. They can pretty much spend it on what they want. However, we work out on each leg what we think they need to spend to be able to get through the leg. So there isn't like a surplus amount of money for most of the teams. They really need to keep a hold of whatever they have to help them get transportation or get certain elements to be able to get from point A to point B. So there's not a lot of extravagant spending, if you like, going on.
Davis writes, if a team is caught breaking the law, speeding or doing something wrong, do producers step in to save the day, or could they be charged or arrested just like any other person?
They could be charged and arrested just like any other person. They're warned that they should not speed. We document it if they do. We tell them that they're not allowed to break the speed limit. It's almost like we become an extra pair of eyes for the police because we start handing out penalties. We can't hand out tickets like the police, but there's absolutely nothing to stop them being pulled over by a traffic officer and being arrested.
For sure, and we've seen some crashes in past seasons. And so the last question goes to me, though, because I ask you every time, what was your favorite destination to pronounce this season?
To pronounce?
Because you get some toughies, I know that.
Kendamayajan maybe is one. Kendamayajan. Yeah, that was probably my favorite. The shrine that we went to in Japan. I love Japanese culture, and I love the words, and right out of the gate we got to go to Japan. So, yeah, I would say the Kendamayajan Temple is probably my favorite.
And sometimes you said that you practice those ones over and over again. We're out of time, and I could talk with you all day, Phil, but The Amazing Race, it's back on CBS Friday nights again, right? Not Sundays anymore.
Fridays on CBS.
So Fridays we'll be watching. Phil Keoghan, host of The Amazing Race, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Goodbye now.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back at the controls on The Scribble. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Follow along at thescribbleshow.com, also on Twitter at The Scribble Show. Would love to hear from you. All right, so we are kicking up the star power again. Let's go to a lovely lady this time.
Celeb spotting on The Scribble.
She never stops smiling, and she never says anything bad about anybody. Well, we're going to change that. No, I'm just kidding. Leeza Gibbons, winner of Celebrity Apprentice, joining us on the line right now. Hi, Leeza.
Hi. So that's so not true, by the way, but let's go with it anyway.
You know what? Last week I tweeted when you posted a picture, and I said, "You glam women in your 30s make me sick." I don't know if you remember that, but
I can take it.
I know some celebrities hear worse things, right? Saying that you're glam, oh, tough life.
It's been interesting to see how the rest of the world perceives this run on Celebrity Apprentice, because, you know, I was so truly in my own lane with my blinders on that I know everybody said, oh, it was such a mean season and there was all this. I get it. I watched the show with everybody else. But I was, for the most part, just so focused on the work, and I was, so intent on getting to where I got that a lot of the time I was oblivious to some of this stuff happening. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's true.
Let's talk about your relationships with the teammates, though. Who really surprised you the most, either in a good way or bad way?
You know, I was surprised by T.O. because Terrell, I didn't know what to think, but he showed up in a big way, I think. And not only did he, look fantastic, which I think was not a surprise to anybody, but he was very serious about the work and very competitive and had that thing that Donald Trump really loves and treasures. He was, very loyal. And I don't think it surprised anyone that Kevin Jonas was so smart and so competitive. I was upset that he left early and thrilled that he got brought back to help me with that final task, because he's got a big brain for business, and he's just going to really be the architect of his future. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I'm always surprised that Trump says the athletes don't do well, and they didn't go as far. I always think they're going to go further. I did Dancing with the Stars, and they always go really far on that show for obvious reasons, I guess. But I always think that somebody who's a competitor is going to compete in whatever environment. But for whatever reason, I was surprised that they don't make it past halfway typically.
There's so many clashes, which, I mean, you see in workplaces, right? We don't always get along with our coworkers, but some really extreme blowouts on this show.
Some of them came preloaded with history, with previous history, and they are committed to this animosity. It's not like it happened on the show. It's not like the producers, threw a hand grenade in there and said, let's sizzle it up. It's there. And, there's hurt, and there's resentment, and there's anger, and there's whatever are the things that cause us to act the way we do. And, I think that perhaps being on a reality show where it's, unfiltered, like it is often on the housewife shows, for example, there's just a different standard of expression, and so you cut to the chase more quickly. So they just rev up. They get 0 to 60 in a nanosecond. So they're speeding in emotion before the rest of us can even say hello. So I guess that accounts for some of it, but it's really deep seated, churning emotion that I don't know how they ever resolve it. It's real.
But okay, so you're always so nice. I want to put you on the spot here for like 5 seconds. Can you just trash talk Geraldo like 5 seconds? Come on, you knew you were going to win, right?
Well, I think you have to know that you're going to win in order to get to the winner's circle. I do. I think that the mental preparation is a big part of it, and if you don't, then you shouldn't enter a contest. If you don't think you can win, you shouldn't be there.
But he had no chance. Come on, he had no chance. Let's just be honest.
Why do you think? Because he was what? Arrogant, cocky. What? A lot of arrogant and cocky people win. That's why they win.
I know. I'm just trying to stir up trouble, Leeza. You know that, right?
Listen, I will. That's part of his charm. Geraldo. I think he did have a chance. I think that Donald Trump he responds to people who are aggressive. He responds to anybody that's a passionate force of nature. That's Geraldo. And I really thought it was going downhill. I'm thinking, he's kind of smelling. It's like blood in the water here. He's thinking I'm a little too passive, and I know he doesn't dig that. I was thinking it wasn't going to be a good night for me.
But it was an incredible night for you. Now, in our final remaining moments, of course, this is all about charity. You were very emotional talking about your relationship with your mom. So just recap for everybody, again, the charity and what's benefiting from your big win.
My mom and my grandma both died of Alzheimer's disease. And when my mother was in the initial stages, she said to me, "Honey, you're a storyteller. You've told other people's stories. Now, just tell this story and make it count." I didn't know what that meant for the longest time, but as our family journeyed through the struggle, we ended up creating in the world what we wish we'd had, and that became Leeza's Care Connection. So about 10 years ago, we started opening the doors to these support centers across the country where we would connect caregivers to each other and to resources, to the programs, to the services that they need. So the husbands and the wives and the sons and daughters, the family members, who often are as sick or sicker than the diagnosed loved one, they can often lose 10 years off their life for caregiving because the stress is so great. So I thought, wow, we can really do something about that. So it's been the most incredible work I've ever done. And we took the money that I got as project manager that I won, secured a place in my hometown, which we've never been open there. And now with these earnings, we're going to create a digital platform so that we can connect people to each other 24/7, and it's just such a needed thing. There's like 90 million family caregivers out there, and they do heroic work. So I'm really proud to be able to put the spotlight on that, and this has been tremendously helpful for us.
That's awesome, Leeza. Way to go. So is there a website or anywhere that people can get more information? Leeza'sCareConnection.org. And if you just get to my website, we'll link you straight through too. But
we've been doing it for a while. We know the need is great, and I feel so honored to be able to walk this path. So, Leeza'sCareConnection.org. We have a lot of people that are there in the Alzheimer's community, but also cancer and stroke and MS. Because if you're caring for someone you love with a chronic illness or disease, you're probably not caring for yourself, and you can't do it alone. So that's what we're there for.
The fabulous and wonderful and Geraldo trash-talking Leeza Gibbons. Oh, it's been wonderful chatting with you. Congrats on the big win and everything you're doing for Alzheimer's. Leeza Gibbons, everybody, winner of Celebrity Apprentice.
Thank you.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Marathon runner Jeremy Bradley here, back at the controls on The Scribble. Well, that's it. You know what? 30 minutes come and gone. Amazing time. Some incredible star power. Let's just recap. Jeff Probst, Phil Keoghan, and Leeza Gibbons, all within 30 minutes on our very first show. Damn, we've really set that bar high, haven't we? like I said at the beginning, it's all downhill from here. But I want to thank everybody who's tuned in. Thank you so much. Our website is thescribbleshow.com. On there you can check out the Twitter link and the Facebook link and all those other ways that you can keep in touch. Would love to hear from you, your feedback. Now, because we're also posted on Fridays, we've got some really cool guests next week on the show. From Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary and Barbara Corcoran will be joining us, and we're also going to talk about some other things, like saving money, because again, best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate, tell you how you can save some bucks with some creativity. My name is Jeremy Bradley, and this is The Scribble. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.